So in today's video, we're going to talk about how to build a high-performance team. Building a high-performance team takes effort. It takes time, and it's going to take energy, but it is so worth it. So often I talk to leaders that are struggling to deal with all of the weight of the work that they have to do, and so they take on more and more themselves. And as a result, they become more and more frustrated, more and more stressed. When you get a team working together effectively, they can accomplish so much more than they can as individuals. But oftentimes we have a misunderstanding of what a team is. A lot of leaders have individuals on a team that add up all of their results at the end of the day and think that's teamwork. But a teamwork is more than that. It's about how we work together. There's a gentleman by the name of Boyd Packer, and he was at a county fair in New Hampshire many, many years ago. And he was watching what's called an ox pull. You know, they would have these huge oxen and they put them in a yoke, and then they put a sled behind them. And they put these enormous rocks on the sled that weigh like a ton each. And then they see how far those oxen can pull the stone. And as they were looking at all the different teams, Boyd was looking at them and he said, for sure that team has to win because they were the biggest, beastliest oxen around. And so they had the muscle, they had the power, and he was certain that they were going to win the contest. But as the contest went on, the winners were not the big oxen. They were some of the last placed teams. The winner were two of the smallest oxen. And he was confused, and people were wondering, how could this happen? So as he talked to the New Englanders, how could it be possible? He said, listen, the person who is driving the oxen team has taught the team that when they pull exactly together, they can pull so much more. Because if you think about it, those two oxen are working together. They're in that yoke. If one takes off even 1 second before the other, it dissipates all the energy of the team. But the two that won pulled exactly together. They were aligned. They were trained well. They worked together, and as a result, they were able to produce so much more. Now, the interesting thing is two oxen can pull almost 3 times what one oxen or 2 oxen individually can pull by themselves. You put them together, their productivity grows exponentially. This is why this topic is so important. So today I'm going to give you 4 steps on how to build a high-performance team. So I've just shared with you some of the elements of a high-performing team, but I want you to get really clear on what a high-performance team is. And for this first step, in this video, I take a deep dive into all the characteristics of a high-performing team. Number 2, measure the conditions that exist on your team. There's a way to do a team dynamic analysis that is really helpful in helping you understand the conditions. And it's based on a model that has 2 areas. First of all, productivity. And there are 7 elements of productivity that we will measure. Number 2, positivity. Why positivity? Because positivity are the conditions on the team that allow productivity to be sustainable. And there are 7 elements of positivity that will help you to make sure that you sustain your productivity year after year. Not just 1 week, not just 1 month, but year after year. So there are 14 elements of a high-performing team. 7 have to do with your ability to be productive, so the productivity plane. And the other one is 7 elements of positivity. And I'm going to share those with you right now. Productivity. The first one is your ability to produce results. Obviously, you have to get the job done. And are you doing that to the level that you want? Number 2, team leadership. Do you have individuals on the team that take leadership? This isn't about, again, having the title of leader. This is, do you have people that can influence, that people go to solve problems? Do you have enough of them on your team to keep moving the productivity forward? Next is resources. A lot of times people look at resources as, do we have enough resources? That's not what this productivity element is about. What it is about is, are you utilizing the resources that you have effectively? Decision making. Do you have an effective decision making process? Proactive. Are you proactive? Do you wait for things to happen? Do you wait for changes in the marketplace or with your competition? Or do you get ahead of them? Accountability. This is not where you hold other people accountable, but this is where people on your team own the responsibilities. They own the goals, and they are willing to step up and make sure that they follow through with what they have committed to. That's the type of accountability that leads to high productivity. And do you have clear goals and strategies? Does everybody know what they are? If you have these 7 things, that's a great start to have a high-performing team. Now let's talk about the positivity elements. First of all, trust. Is there trust on the team? Is it safe for people to speak up? Can they share their ideas? Can they disagree with you as the leader? Can they disagree with each other? Respect. Do members of the team respect each other? Do they listen to each other's perspectives and points of view? Number 3, camaraderie. Do your team members enjoy spending time together? Do they have fun together? Do they spend time after work with each other? That's a great indicator of a team that's highly positive. Communication. Do you effectively communicate? Are you able to do it well verbally? Are you able to do it well written? Do you have the ability to communicate under pressure? This is a sign of a team that is high performing. Constructive interaction. What is this about? This is really about having conflict. Do you have the ability to disagree and have conflict on the team? This is one of the skills that most teams struggle with the most. Of thousands of teams that we've analyzed over the years, this is what holds teams back many times. Get good at having conflict. That will help you to get to that high performance status. Do you value diversity? Diversity and inclusion is so important today, and it goes beyond race, religion. All those things are important. Background, perspectives, behavioral styles, communication styles. When we really include all the different assets and all the different perspectives that we have, we are so much closer to being a high-performance team. Is there optimism? Does the team feel like they're winning? Do they see the ability to have success? Are they excited about the prospects and the possibilities of the organization? So they're not looking over their shoulder at other opportunities. They're excited to be right here, right now. Is everyone aligned? I told you the story about the oxen. Are you pulling together at the same time? So before I get to the next 2 suggestions on how to build a high-performance team, go ahead and subscribe to our channel today so you make sure that you stay up to date on all the latest and greatest information. Number 3, identify which of those 14 elements your team is the weakest at. So often as leaders, we want to focus on our strengths. That's a great strategy. Another great strategy is to work on the weaknesses, is to train to the gaps of where you want to be. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of that. So recently I had Scott Hamilton, who won 4 Olympic gold medals as a figure skater. And I asked him about his process of winning those 4 gold medals. He talked to me about how many times he failed. He said he fell over 41,000 times. There was so much failure in that. And he had so many years that he wasn't succeeding. But when he finally got close to winning, he was in 2nd place. And the person who was the best skater was strongest at what Scott was weakest at, and that was what's called compulsory figures. And he had to change his perspective on how he felt about this. He hated the compulsory figures part of it. And he decided to change his opinion and start to love that and make that weakness his strength. And as soon as he did that, he was able to win his first gold medal. I'm going to give you another example. One of the greatest basketball players of all time, Shaquille O'Neal, an enormous mountain of a man who was a center that was almost impossible to stop. You got him in the key and he would slam that ball down. You couldn't stop him. But what teams found out was that his weakness was free throws. So at the end of the game, all they had to do is foul him and get him at the free throw line, and he wasn't able to make the shots, and they could defeat the Lakers. Number 3. Maybe you're not into basketball. Maybe you're a tennis fan. There's a great tennis player by the name of Simona Halep. And in 2014, she was ranked 53rd in the world. Now, Simona is highly competitive and very driven. She's so competitive, as a matter of fact, that she hates to lose. And her opponents, her competitors, found all they had to do is get into her head. And when they did, they could defeat her because she would get angry and frustrated and throw her racket. But as soon as she started to work on her weakness, which was her strong competitiveness, she stayed competitive, but she learned how to channel that energy and that frustration into positive and constructive ways. And in 2018, she was number 1 in the world. In the last few years, she's always ranked in the top 5 in the world because she worked on her weaknesses. Number 4, train to those gaps, as I said, through team coaching. Use a process of team coaching. It's different than executive or individual coaching, which is very beneficial and useful in helping people change their behavior and work on their weaknesses. But when we're talking about team performance, one of the best and most efficient ways to get that team to change very quickly is through a team coaching approach. This approach will help you to move your team to where you want them to be. So what I like to do is give you a gift today for staying with me. I'd like to be able to give you the ability to measure the 14 elements that I just talked about on your team through a tool that is called the Team Diagnostic. And I'm going to give you a version of that is from your perspective as a leader. All you have to do is click on the link below, and I'll get you enrolled in that process.